How are you all? Hopefully, all of you guys will be healthy at your home during this tough time. Today is your host Shubham Kumar, and welcome back to Legal Talk series once again. Today, I will talk about the women empowerment and talk about the crisis of human rights in West Bengal. Today's Miss Anushka is present among us today, and currently she is doing BA LLB from UPES Dehradun. Right now, she is in fourth year of her law, and she is also founder of Naari, and she is also the president of West Bengal Human Rights Council, and she's also got the appreciation letter from the Prime Minister of New Zealand. I am warm welcoming you that you took out your precious time for us. Thank you so much, Anushka, for joining us today.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. So my first question is for you. I would like to know about your background, where are you came from, and where did you complete your earlier education?
Okay, so I hail from Jamshedpur, Tatanagar, that is in the state of Jharkhand. Yes. I completed my 10th boards from DPS Jamshedpur, and I completed my 12th from Loyola again in Jamshedpur. Further, since I was interested in law, I opted for studying law with a particular specialization in University of Petroleum and Energy Studies, Dehradun.
Yes. Okay, got your point. My second question is for you, why did you think that you should do law? Does law matters in your life?
So since a very small age, I could be called an activist because I was a strong advocate of women's rights. And I used to talk, I used to participate in debates. And the very basic reason why even my parents thought that I could pursue law and supported my decision was because I did not accept things the way they were. I always opposed to things I thought which weren't right. And I did not feel scared to speak against something which I felt wasn't right and should have been done in some other way. I'm not talking about difference of opinion here, but certain patriarchal mindset that still exists in the society, which I had been seeing since long. And it's quite surprising that since a very small age, I had started noticing such things. And I was very lucky and privileged to have parents who were ready to open up and talk about the things which I was curious about. And hence, I realized the concept of period poverty or the existing major problem of period poverty in India long back. So earlier, I used to write about it. Now, I am acting on it and I'm trying to eradicate period poverty. So I just thought that having a law degree and knowing in depth about the laws in the country would give me an upper hand in dealing with such problems, or specifically in working for the empowerment of women or the minorities.
But did you ever think that if you done law, then you have done something for that society which is not aware about the right, which is not aware about the basically you can call the fundamental right. So did you ever think that if I am doing law, then I am able to help those society?
So that is exactly what I'm trying to tell you. Once I am learning the various laws. Currently I just passed my fourth year, I'm in the final year. So I'm gearing up myself with all the possible laws, rules that are to be, that are there in the country. And once I gear myself up with all of these, only then can I create any awareness in the society. For me to tell anybody that right to hygiene is a part of right to life, that is Article 21. Firstly, I need to know the various things that right to life Article 21 includes. Not everybody who's not studying law or is not from the legal fraternity will know that there are various other rights within the purview of Article 21 itself. So that is what I wanted to know. First, first get up myself with all the knowledge, and then probably take it in the society and explain it to them in a much more simpler language.
Yes, got your point. My third question is for you, that do you ever think that if that your initiative that you have started, that it's going to be successful in future?
Yeah, so initially I was scared because because I started Naari during the pandemic. And first of all, no matter how much we talk about activism, we only talk about it, not much action is taken even now. So when I was talking about period poverty and menstrual equity, I saw a lot of support coming from my parents. But to go into the villages and talk to women out there who are very resistant and very hesitant to talk about such things, the men don't find it comfortable. So forget about women in the rural areas. So it was initially difficult. So I started with convincing 15 women to use menstrual pads, and try to make them aware of the fact that using a cloth would not only harm them physically, but psychologically also. It's at a point, if you see it, it's very disturbing. So I started with 15 women, and now I guess I have distributed pads, and I distribute it monthly. My organization distributes to almost more than 7,000 women in India. So that's a long way to go, I believe. And seeing the growth, I believe we are putting in so much efforts for this organization that I'm sure we'll be able to cover more number of women as time passes, and probably we'll be able to eradicate very soon.
Miss Anushka, that your initiative that you have started is really much appreciated, and I would like to know that you are the founder of Naari and West Bengal Human Rights Council. So can you please tell how your team works, and how can you tackle the problem that you have to go the areas of urban areas, basically, that how can you manage, how can you conversation with all the backward areas?
So what happens is, I am the founder of Naari and the president of West Bengal Human Rights Council. So while dealing with Naari, I'll probably start one by one. So firstly, talking about Naari, as I said, it was very difficult to talk to the women in the rural areas because they were very reluctant, not ready to talk about period poverty. And there was a myth that existed that probably using pads would harm them physically rather than, making it much more easier. So I had to break it down to them. Let's see, these are the advantages, disadvantages. How can it harm you in long run? So that was difficult. But I thought before getting in more team members and more people to work in my organization, firstly, I should go and see the ground level problem. I should first understand it, try to convince them. Once a certain number of women start using pads that we provide, I believe then we can take in more members. So all the members that we take in Naari are probably very, very determined to eradicate period poverty, and they are very passionate about the cause. So as a team, it becomes much more easier to work. Talking about West Bengal Human Rights Council, we actually have 80 to 90 interns working under us every month. And we have a group of 30 council members who work under me and my vice president. So often, when you work with a very big team, it becomes at a point you may have difference of opinion. A lot of people cannot gel up with each other. But, leading the organization, that's the most important thing I had to work on. So, it all comes down to the point that our motive is same. Our motive is to anybody whose human rights have been violated, we stand for them and we fight for them. Starting from a victim of marital rape, because marital rape is not criminalized in India. So for an Indian woman to realize that if marital rape is a crime and to recognize it is itself very difficult, because there's this concept and stigma, you can call it, which is attached to this concept of marital rape, that a man has a right on his wife, and any possible act done by a man onto his wife is okay, is his right. So to make them aware that no, this is not okay, since a woman has autonomy over her body and she does not lose it post marriage, it is very difficult to convince them. But since I have got a great team to work with and they are very determined towards the goal, it at a point of time when you're able to help even one person get through that trauma or the suffering they are going through, it all becomes worth it. All the work that we do, all the sleepless nights we tend to spend for the cause, it all becomes worth it at the end.
Anushka, you are doing a great job through your organization and your initiative. But tell me, what things came in your mind that you think that you should start some initiative or organization that help to patriarchal society?
Okay, so the reason I started Naari and I came out, spoke about a lot of topics. Also, I took up West Bengal Human Rights Council. Also, I'm on the way to get one of my more organizations registered, that is ISOT. It is an inclusive society of transgenders, again, talking about the minorities. So the first incident, as I have always opened up about my personal life, also stating that there was a particular phase in my life where I was a victim of physical and mental abuse. The most startling thing was that if I, being educated and being a law student, can face this and I'm not able to fight back, what will the other women who are not backed up with good knowledge, good family support, what will they do? So that was when I took the call to stand, not only stand for myself, but stand for lots of women out there. And from the day I have, had that startling realization, I have made myself even more stronger, and I have helped a lot of victims out there, considering you can talk about period poverty to domestic violence to marital rape to acid attack survivors. Everybody I've had a conversation with, I've always tried to empower them and create much more awareness. But I still believe there's a long, long way to go. But even achieving this much, whatever little it is, after going through such a traumatic phase, is, I believe, a huge growth for me personally.
And your journey and your answer were definitely inspiring to all the upcoming and teenagers girls. Do you want to give some suggestion to upcoming teenagers that it's not like it's either girl or boy? So do you have give any suggestion for them?
Yeah, surely. I believe any of the upcoming teenagers or be it doctors, lawyers, engineers, any profession, I believe when you talk, a lot of people talk about activism, but they only talk about it. So rather than only talking about activism, I believe we should act on it and we should do what we believe. So only when the youth takes on charge can the country move ahead. So it's very necessary for the youth to realize the existing problems in the society and how it can be dealt with. Also, I would like to give a very small example. So I have been in conversation with a lot of people from the transgender community. And the very basic thing I realized is that only when men and women together fight for these minorities can they actually get equal rights. Only transgender fighting for their rights will do no good. Only when we as men and women come out and speak for the minorities and, talk about equality and act on it, can the country go ahead and everybody will thrive in that case.
So you are doing great work, really great work, and it's really much appreciated from my side. Thank you so much, Anushka. Now it's time to stop our conversation, and thank you so much for your valuable time, Anushka. Thank you so much once again.
Thank you so much for having me. It was a great session. Thank you so much again.